Hey everybody, me and Buster Green here. So today I'm going to review the new Mad Max movie, Furiosa, and I'm going to try to knock out a quick review because I honestly have a lot to say about the film. I've got a lot of mixed feelings here. It was a good film, it was a bad film, it was an important film, it was an unimportant film. I don't think you have to see it, but if you do see it, you might like it or you might not. The movie is a lot of things. The movie functions as basically DLC for the last Mad Max movie, Fury Road. Yeah, that's my take on this. This movie is DLC. Now, it's not a great movie. It's kind of a weird movie, but at the end of the day, it's DLC. Before I dive deep into what Furiosa is, let me do a quick recap of the Mad Max franchise. And I'm going to rank all the films because today I really feel like I got to rank some things. So, yeah, Mad Max, that's a weird franchise. You have the first three Mel Gibson films, which were mostly made in the 80s, and then you have a 20-year gap leading up to Fury Road. And then there was another 10-year gap between Fury Road and this movie. And yeah, here's this movie. It's extremely derivative of Fury Road. Now, the first three Mad Max movies, the Mel Gibson trilogy, those films are kind of all over the place. Like the first Mad Max movie is basically a low-budget horror film. It was extremely cheaply made, but it put both George Miller and Mel Gibson on the map. And then a few years later, you get Road Warrior. Now, that's basically the same idea, but it has such a higher budget and such higher quality that this is just like a very fine, like perfect 80s movie. And then Fury Road is almost the same idea as Road Warrior because all that happened is it was another 20 years later, and it was the same old Mad Max action, but again with much higher quality, much higher budget, much higher effects, and it was the best film that the 2000s had to offer. Like, I would kind of say if you had to make the best version of the Mad Max franchise, the only three movies you need to really watch are the original, Road Warrior, and Fury Road. Each of those three movies doubles down time after time on the spectacle and the weirdness. Now, the worst Mad Max movie has always and still is Beyond Thunderdome. Beyond Thunderdome is a movie that's totally all over the place. The first half of the film is about Mad Max going to a coliseum full of mutants called the Thunderdome, and he fights some of the mutants. I think there's like a baby mutant carrying like a bigger mutant. And anyway, there's like a bunch of weird shit there. It kind of sets the tone for the later like Raider weirdness of like Immortan Joe and all those weirdos, but Thunderdome is messed up. It basically feels like two movies stuck together. Like there's the first part where he's in Thunderdome, and that's your typical Mad Max gritty shit, but with a little less budget because it's all mutants and it's not driving cars. And then the second half of the movie is mega weird. It's basically like, it feels like it was written by Michael Jackson. It's got that weird Michael Jackson tone. It's way too much about kids. It's all about saving kids from the desert. Yeah, Thunderdome is the worst movie because it goes from an R-rated mutant fighting monster epic to a G-rated save the children's 80s movie, and it's just completely tonally all over the place. Now, as for Furiosa, that is a really hard movie to rank because I just gotta be real with you guys. This movie is DLC. If you liked Fury Road and you want more Fury Road, it's DLC for Fury Road. If you didn't like Fury Road, then you have no business like watching this movie at all. Now, that being said, you can put it up there with Fury Road, and I kind of wonder like if the plan right now, at least on George Miller's part, is to cut this movie and Fury Road together to make like a 6-hour like super epic movie. He's already cashed in on re-releasing Fury Road once when he released the black and white cut, so I think it could happen. I don't think the movie theaters will be happy, but it might definitely happen at least once somewhere. However, if I'm thinking about Furiosa as a standalone film, then its ranking is way the hell down there. As a standalone, it's basically fighting for third or fourth place alongside the original low-budget Mad Max film, which is only so low because it is a low-budget movie. Like, theoretically, the only reason I can rank Furiosa higher than classic Mad Max is strictly on the budget and the visuals, because theoretically, if there was just like a magical remade version of the original Mad Max with a high budget, then yeah, that would instantly be better than Furiosa. Now, anyway, Fury Road was like the best fucking movie of that decade. Like, it definitely was the best Mad Max film, with Road Warrior in a close second. It's basically a perfect film, which is something you just don't see all the time. It's so much better crafted than any other film ever made. It was a big enough deal that it even got featured in Space Jam, even though it's an R-rated movie. It's pretty much as perfect as a movie as a perfect movie gets. Fury Road was created to fully reboot the Mad Max franchise, But unfortunately, because of corporate interference and some like weird like behind the scenes drama, that reboot is only really happening now, like 10 years later. And yeah, anyway, this is Furiosa. It was like the first of a handful of spin-offs of Fury Road. And yeah, this pretty much is a piece of Fury Road. Like, it's the missing start of it. It's the missing prequel of it. Wisely, this was excluded from a 6-hour cut of Fury Road, but now it's turned into DLC cut content. And for a while, this movie was supposed to be an anime. This was supposed to be an anime side story. I think because the movie is split into 5 chapters, it was intended to be 5 anime episodes. And it seems like the anime version got at least as far as the storyboards. Now, George Miller has gone on the record to say that the only thing they took from the anime version was the design of the Dementress. But I don't know if I believe that, because looking over the storyboards myself, I don't know. This looks like the movie I just got out of. Also, speaking about the design of Dementis, I really like that he goes through these like 3 eras. He has like a white era and a red era and a black era. And that idea seems a little anime to me, although like that also makes me kind of realize that, did this guy go 20 years without taking a bath? Anyway, so I guess what happened after that was, because Fury Road just made so much money at the box office, WB got greedy. And they took what should have either been a simple standalone anime movie, or maybe it could have been like a short series. Like, remember that bad Blade Runner anime that no one gave a shit about and no one remembers anymore? I think this could have been like that. I think it could have been a great version of that, a great 5-episode anime. But now they decide, fuck it, script's good enough, we got nothing else to make, let's make it in live action. And so the movie got trapped in development hell, and they only just now finished it. Now, as a result of that, Charlize Theron, who played Furiosa in Fury Road, she supposedly aged out of the role. Or maybe otherwise she was just too old to portray teenage and child Furiosa, which brings me to the casting. Now, the big deal with this movie is, as a result of the Charlize Theron being old at the age of 30, they swapped her out with Anya Taylor-Joy, who's a fresh young face. Now, quick side note on that, because I have so many mixed feelings on this recast. Like, initially when I heard the news, I was like, fuck that, that's so dumb. That's trend chasing because Anya's more popular. Anya has a bigger box office return right now, but that's a horrible casting choice. They look nothing alike. Charlize Theron has a head like a can of beans, and Anya Taylor-Joy has a head like a cat, or hell, like Stewie from Family Guy. Like, at least you could have got a woman with like a normal shaped head, because Charlize Theron has like one of the most normal head out there. But Anya, she's got one of the weirdest heads out there. Her eyes are really far apart. She kind of looks like a cat. And I love Anya. I think she was great as Princess Peach. I think Queen's Gambit basically made her a movie star. And I agree that she's a very unique looking woman who can do the job. But I don't know, like, just from the get-go, I thought this was a bad casting choice. Now, on the flip side, George Miller does make the most of it. He uses Anya Taylor-Joy to his advantage by framing a lot of shots on her big eyes that I think probably wouldn't have been as cool with Charlize Theron. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, aside from the general idea at a casting level choice, I would overall say that she's great in the movie. I will also give some respect to the actor who plays Baby Furiosa at the start of the film. Not sure of her name, but she's also great, and she also really looks like Anya Taylor-Joy. I have no idea where Anya Taylor-Joy starts and where this girl ends, but yeah, they used them both really well, and they almost blended together into one character, which is what the movie's supposed to do. Furiosa also has a mom. Her mom was really cool. The mom also looks like Anya Taylor-Joy, but with black hair. So yeah, interesting choice. What's with the deal with all these people with like wide eyes? Is that like some kind of like national thing? This movie has the most number of women with wide eyes I've ever seen together in one place ever. I'm also going to fully praise Chris Hemsworth's role as Dementis in this. He basically makes the film work. It's a great performance, and like he basically brings this like story of a man in downfall like straight up to like the forefront of the movie. It's honestly the best Chris Hemsworth performance I've seen out of him in years. He's doing this ridiculous Australian voice, and it's like so corny, but he sells it. And I honestly feel even like indirectly proud of him because he just nailed this role so hard. Like, the guy kind of stopped acting after Thor Love and Thunder bombed, so it's really nice to see him come back and immediately hit a home run out of the park like this. So yeah, that actually really made me happy. And that's pretty much it. No one else in the cast really stands out. It's just Anya, Thor, Anya's mom, and young Anya. There's also these like two like super mutant bastard guys. Were they in Fury Road? I don't remember them. Anyway, so, okay, let me get into the film now. Furiosa, kind of a weird film. It's the first Mad Max prequel we've ever gotten, and I was really, really super hoping that there would be more references or callback characters to the original Mel Gibson Mad Max trilogy. Like, I know no one wants to like bring Tina Turner out retirement to like go back to Thunderdome, but like there was no one, and that kind of bummed me out. Like, I know I don't really remember a ton of these characters, but there was no one that like really jumped out at me and being like, oh, that's the guy from the other movie. Like, the only one that really like maybe could have been from the other movie was the guy with one eye. Maybe he could have been a reference, but if he was not something I remember, so I don't give a shit. Like, I overall kind of thought that was a missed opportunity because it would have been a chance to include those previous characters or even make references to them. Like, I would have been like really like laughing if they had been like, oh, that's Thunderdome over there, but we don't go there. You know, but no, they make a very clean break from the Mel Gibson Mad Max movies, and that kind of bums me out because it feels like they like abandoned the continuity. It kind of makes me think these new movies exist in this weird like Legend of Mad Max bubble, like that they're based on the old movies, then they don't like directly connect to them. I also kind of want to compare this movie to Rogue One, a Star Wars story, because it kind of reminds me of that movie too in the way it hooks together with the first movie so well. But I want to say this movie is better than Rogue One because it's like if Rogue One actually had substantial and good roles for Vader and Leia, other than just including them as fan service. Okay, so let me get into the spoilers now. So, Furiosa. This is a simple movie. It's simple in the way that Fury Road was simple. Fury Road could basically be described as Furiosa steals Amora and Joe's wives, and then he chases her for 3 hours in the desert, and Mad Max is sort of there just strapped to a truck. Furiosa is the story of Furiosa being kidnapped by raiders as a child, and despite her numerous opportunities to escape from them, go back to her family, get away from the violence, get away from the chaos, she almost always chooses to stay and help people, either because it's the right thing to do or because she's obsessed with getting revenge on Chris Hemsworth. Like, I could sum up this whole movie in a single scene where Furiosa has like hidden away on the war rig. She has a hidden motorcycle attached to it, and she's like completely set up to just leave and have her own adventure. But then the rig is attacked, and some dude who probably could have captured her, probably knew what she was doing, like he just sees her and is like, take this pipe. And he's like, go fix the rig or we're all gonna die. And she's like, ah, fine, shucks, okay, whatever. Yeah, like, the movie's cool overall, but it wasn't world-changing cool in the way that Fury Road was. It's like Fury Road was so cool that this movie is having a hard time being like a follow-up act after Fury Road. Like, okay, I'll give the movie one thing. Here's the coolest part of the movie. Like, midway through the movie, there's a fight with these flying guys. That's awesome. That is my favorite part of the movie because that alone was something I hadn't seen before. Because I'm not sure if those were all real flying guys. They looked like they were all real flying guys. One of them had a flying motorcycle. That was fucking amazing. And that's the best part of the movie, but that's the middle of the movie. Like, once again, Fury Road is this perfect object, and to be in the presence of a perfect object makes the objects around it imperfect. Furiosa is just not as good as Fury Road. Coincidentally, if I'm going to throw it into the ranking system, if Fury Road plus Furiosa as one movie was a thing, that would be better than Furiosa, but worse than Fury Road. Fury Road would drive Furiosa up, but Furiosa would also drive Fury Road down. Like, the best thing this movie really has going for it is just Chris Hemsworth being amazing. Chris Hemsworth driving a 6-wheel monster truck. Monster trucks are pretty fucking cool after all. And yeah, the fight with the flying men. Best scene in the movie. Now, I'll start to get into the negative ends at this point. The movie's biggest strength and its biggest weakness is its long, slow moments. Have you ever found yourself on a road trip and suddenly find your brain completely blank? Like, that's the condition this movie induced on me. I found my brain to be incredibly clear in this movie. So clear that I could actually realize how clear it was. And that was interesting for me. Like, I would say at a certain point in my life, I realized that I can reach full mental clarity if I'm like trapped on a bus or trapped on a train and just staring out a window. And I was able to reach that in the middle of this movie, which is unusual because I usually can't reach that state in a movie. Like, this film just has so much dynamics of just like quiet driving through the desert that I was able to like completely zone out. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I noticed that and I think it's weird. I guess the big difference between Furiosa and Fury Road was Furiosa has less action and the action just isn't as focused. It's more about the like moves and like the backstory. And with Fury Road earned its R rating, but this also has an R rating, and I would say it's like a light R. Like the only thing that's really R rated is like the part where Furiosa obviously loses her arm and like a lot of talk about nipples that wasn't really like needed. Anyway, whereas Fury Road was perfect, this movie definitely needed a tighter edit, and that's probably one of the worst things about it. Also, I just found out this movie has a post-credit scene, and I didn't even get to see it because the movie was 3 hours long, and by the end of it, I had to pee so bad that I like ran out of the theater. Like, there's a lot of things that could have been taken out. Like, there's a lot of weird, dreamy montage moments that seem like cool, but they seem retro to like the 80s, and they kind of seem out of place, so I'm not sure what to make of them. Okay, also, here's the worst part of the movie. Near the climax of the film, Immortan Joe and Dementis finally like declare war on each other, and they have this thing that's literally called the 40-Day War. And the 40-Day War is just fully conveyed through a stupid montage and a voice saying, "And then the 40-Day War took place." This sucks. I hated this the most of any moment in this movie. Like, if this had been omitted, I would have just appreciated it. Like, instead of keeping focus on the fact that this was the final climactic battle between Immortan Joe, Dementis, and Furiosa as this wild card Joker, instead it just feels like the biggest cop-out of the entire movie that they were like, "Hey, this is where the climax of the movie is supposed to be, but we don't have budget or time to show it, so just pretend it's awesome and let's move on." Like, fuck that. They needed that, or they didn't need that. Like, they should have just shown Dementis' attack, shown it not going well, and then gone straight into the next scene where Furiosa's after him. George Miller is the ultimate show don't tell filmmaker, and this is the one time he breaks his own rule, and it's an absolute disaster. Like, this movie was almost 4 hours long, and it really didn't need to be. There was so much redundancy here, and a lot of places where just some minor, tighter editing would have made it a lot better. So that's the biggest crime this movie commits, just having a text-only climax. If they hadn't done this, I probably could have rated this film closer in ranking to Fury Road, but instead, because they did that, it definitely is the third or fourth worst film. Now, one thing I'm going to say was cool, back to praising it, the robot arm that Furiosa has, in this movie, they use it more like an arm/chainsaw. I don't remember it being able to do that in Fury Road. Maybe I forgot because I haven't seen Fury Road since 10 years ago, but I appreciated that. I thought that was really cool. The movie also had a couple of biblical and mythological references, with Furiosa starring in a garden, her mom literally being crucified, and then Furiosa being visually crucified in this really cool scene where she's like in front of a cross on fire. That's kind of like a callback to Joan of Arc, but yeah. All these visual callbacks, very, very cool. I appreciated those. Oh, and at the end, I guess spoilers for the end, Furiosa somehow turns Chris Hemsworth's dick into a tree, which logistically is hard to figure out. I'm not 100% sure how possible that would be. Actually, hold up. Pause the review. Is that possible? ... Oh, holy fucking shit, it is! Ew, disgusting! Oh my god. Okay, in 2010, a man from Boston was rushed to a hospital with a collapsed lung, and the reason it collapsed was like the dude liked to eat raw peas, and one of them got stuck in his lung and grew a pea plant in there. Holy fuck. Okay, wow. Wow. Jesus, I'm more horrified by that now than I was when I saw that, so nice ending, movie. Good job. Okay. This review is dragging on way too long. All right, so in conclusion, I guess Furiosa was a weird movie. On the one hand, it's not the best Mad Max film. It's not as good as Fury Road. It's too derivative of Fury Road. It feels ultimately like it's Fury Road DLC, a plug-and-play DLC Fury Road add-on, with the singular goal of making a bigger, badder 6-hour cut of Fury Road. As its own thing, it's just not as good as Fury Road, or even The Road Warrior. But you know what? Shit, here's the thing. comparing this to the other movies that are out right now, like IF and Garfield, fuck those movies. Fury Road isn't playing against them, and there's literally no movies that come close to this. So like the average movie is so mid lately with dumb CGI, dumb actors, dumb AI generated scripts, that if you're comparing those shitty movies to this fine ass movie with these fine ass car chases with this no dialogue, and yeah, like comparing a movie with no car chases and bad dialogue to this movie with awesome car chases and no dialogue, Furiosa is obviously going to come out on top. So overall, I've got very mixed feelings on this movie. Like, it's the best movie playing right now. It's so much better than some of the crappy alternative movies that are playing this week, but it's no Fury Road. Like, the best parts of this movie I saw in the trailer, I realized after the fact were literally from a recap of Fury Road that plays at the end of the movie. So that kind of bummed me out. Overall, I think I actually would have preferred if this had just been an anime released in 2015 to hype up and promote Fury Road like it was originally intended to be. But nah, they got greedy, so they made it a whole thing. Furiosa for me gets an actual rating of 7 out of 10. Pros, monster trucks. Pros, Chris Hemsworth. Furiosa is cool. The quietness of the film is strangely soothing. Cons, way too long. Not enough callbacks to the other Mad Max movies except Fury Road. And the stupid 40-year war thing is not shown in the film, and that was supposed to be the climax of the movie. One last thing that's interesting to me, apparently for the Japanese release of this film, George Miller agreed to have the first ever sit-down interview with Fist of the North Star mangaka Tetsuo Ohara, and he ended up drawing this really funky-looking rendition of Furiosa with like a rubber hose body. Apparently, they're going to interview each other in next week's edition of Ega Haiho, a Japanese manga that I'm really, really curious to check out if anyone has ever found a copy of that. I also have to wonder if this means that George Miller is going to finally watch Fist of the North Star, which kind of excites me. All right, anyway, that's everything I finally have to say about all that, I guess. Hey, important updates on the channel. I finally have Patreon supporters again for the first time in a long time. Thank you so much, Max and Thomas. And finally, here's a word from my sponsor. My sponsor is myself. Here's a commercial for my anime movie. Hey everyone, Mito Bass here. Mutant Busters vs. Birdef, the first episode of the Mutant Busters animated series, is going to be doing a limited theatrical screening on Saturday night, July 6, 2024, in scenic Asbury Park, New Jersey, home of that creepy face on the wall. It will be screening at the Jersey Shore Film Fest. Tickets will be $20. This will be an updated version format for movie theaters with a brand spanking new theatrical sound mix and some other minor fixes. If you guys could, please check out my Patreon because I'm broke and we need money to finish episode 2. Patreon subscribers will get early looks at the unfinished episode 2, early access to the updated episode 1 with the theatrical sound mix, and high-level contributors will also have the ability to vote on episode elements for the upcoming episodes and potentially insert them or their ideas into the show. All right, thanks everybody. Later.